maybe I'll just use this. First of all, I think good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting the EPF to speak here. So, and I would also like to actually take this opportunity to apologize on behalf of Puan Balkis. So she has some unavoidable circumstances and she couldn't make it. And so when I entered the hall, I was speaking to Mr. Kabinesh and also dear moderator. So apparently there's a lot of questions on account flexible this morning. So I'll try to address some of it later. And please bear with me. And when I was asked to replace Puan Balkis during this presentation, I was actually wondering what I should talk about in this presentation. Because based on my experience, actually everyone knows that they need to start save early. Everyone knows that they need to plan their budget. Everyone knows that to achieve a certain goal, for sure there are some steps that they need to take. But what we notice is that people are lack of the motivation. People are actually lack of the awareness. People are lack of tools and also the discipline to try to achieve what they want to do. So with that in mind, in this presentation, I'm trying to push some motivation to the audience by showing some scary statistics. I hope that scared you enough. But of course, being scary is not the only part of this presentation. We will also try to address some of the things that you can actually do to help you to retire better in the future. All right, so to start off, can I actually request the audience to take out your phone, scan the QR code on the screen, and try to estimate what is your life expectancy. Yeah, this is actually a simulator done by a US university. So they sort of predict how long you can live based on your lifestyle, based on your goals, and etc. So everyone is in? All right. Did you manage to know how long you will live? Is it surprising for you? Or is it too short? Or too long? By the raise of hands, who will live actually up to 100 years old? Anyone? Tak ada? Alamak, kesiannya. Up to 90? Tak ada juga? Up to 80 ada kot? Yeah. Alright. So, why I'm showing you this? Because aging is actually a global phenomenon. And there are two main factors that contribute to global aging. Basically, firstly, longer life expectancy, due to the better, medical and health technologies and etc. And I also see there are some youths in this room. So basically, you can expect yourself to live actually beyond 100 years old. So please be ready for that. And for the children of some of the participants here, you can actually go back and tell them you will live to 100 years old, right? And by 2050, actually, the global life expectancy will actually increase from 73 years old to 80 years old. And there will be 3.1 million of global population will live beyond the age of 100 years by year 2050. So what does that tell us? It's good for us to live longer, but what are the other side of the coins that we need to see from this phenomena, right? So if we were to look back to Malaysia, our life expectancy has increased from 53.6 years old in 1950 to actually 75 years old in 2020. That's about a 20 years increase of life expectancy. And it will continue to increase by 2060 to 82.4 years old. Okay, so what does this tell us? Any idea what does this tell us? First, yes, we are living longer, but are we living longer healthily? That's the first thing that we need to think about. Secondly, do we actually have enough finances to finance our retirement years with this longer life expectancy? So when the EPF was established in 1951, the life expectancy at that time was 54 years old. So basically at that time, full withdrawal is logically okay to be at 55 years old. Basically, people pass away before they can withdraw from their EPF. But at this moment, our full withdrawal age is currently still at 55 years old. So is that still logical? So these are some of the questions that we actually need to think about. I remember back then when, back in 2018, when we did a public consultation to increase the full retirement age from 55 to 60 years old, we are trying to align the full withdrawal age with the minimum retirement age. Well, it was a kind of bad experience actually, because our CEO back then actually received death threats. Basically, there's anonymous surat layang that was sent to our CEO, and there were bombs at our branches. So, and that's why we actually come out with this policy to say that any new contributions that come in after age 55 to 60, we will lock that money, and that will be credited into account amas that members can only withdraw at age 60, right? So, of course, throughout our lifespans, there are different kind of needs, there are different kind of finances that we need to bear. But when you look at the elderly stage, so things that you need to think about, most people are not working anymore, right? So you do not have an active income actually. So, and when the EPF has this lump sum withdrawal, about 60 to 70% will actually withdraw all the money as a lump sum when they reach the age of 55 years old. So that's also the time where people have such big sum of money in their hands for the first time. Most of the people, not all, most of the people. So people will actually lose their rationale and start spending irrationally, right? Because imagine if you have 1 million at your hands, suddenly, just right after you reach age 55 years old, what will happen? Correct? So, but people tend to lose their thoughts. They want to fulfill what they want at that time, to buy a car, some even married a second wife, buy new house to achieve their goals. And they forgot that the healthy life expectancy of Malaysians are actually only up to 67 years old. So what will happen to them if they don't have the money to actually finance their medical costs for the remaining 10 years up to the life expectancy? Yep. And if something happened to them, could they actually finance their own life anymore? Some of the Malaysians would say that, I can still depend on my kids and all, but is that still some, I don't want to use any negative word, is that something that you could depend on nowadays? Especially looking at the increased cost of living. And some kids nowadays, they are actually known as the sandwich generation. So what does a sandwich generation mean? They actually need to take care of their parents, and also at the same time, they need to finance and take care of their kids. So with the current income level in Malaysia, can they actually afford to live this kind of lifestyle by financing both sides? Because I think one of the key stats in EPF, we found out that actually about 78% of Malaysians, of active EPF members, actually earn lower than 5,000 per month. 5,000 per month, that's 78%. So if we were to drill down to 3,000, that actually is about 61% of Malaysians earn lower than 3,000 per month. So what can you do with 3,000 per month when you need to take care of the parents and also take care of your kids at the same time, right? So some of the facts to scare you guys. So if we were to look at the research done by Bank Negara back in 2018, 1 in 3 Malaysians actually could not meet basic needs. They actually need to borrow to buy essential goods. 1 in 3 is a very, very big number. Yeah? It's about 30% of the population. So, for instances, among my experience in EPF, I've been in EPF for 13 years, so I've seen cases like there are actually some members who actually bring their parents. Their parents are at an long-term care facility, I would say, so they are not so healthy in a way. They actually bring their parents to the branch just to complete the nomination and leave their parents at the branch. So things like that happen. And also, there are also a retiree that had actually withdrawn all their savings from EPF and got scammed by people. And they came to the branch and cried to us. I mean, at that time, what can we do, right? So some of the messages that I'm trying to say also, especially those who can access EPF account already, please don't trust any investments opportunity or any illogical type of passive income that they would offer to you. Anything, any investment that can promise you double digits, please be careful already. Yeah, especially there are so many types of cryptocurrency nowadays. They say you can actually buy this Bitcoin and then you can get this kind of benefit. So please be careful with that. There are also some scammers that we see outside. They actually sort of like form a body. Yeah, a syndicate basically. So a syndicate, they will come to you. You pay me 10% from your EPF savings so that I can help you to accelerate your withdrawal of EPF savings. But why you need to do that? Basically, you just need to go to the EPF branch or just to go online, just apply for it. You get the money the next day or latest 3 days later. So I would say that this is about the lack of awareness. This ties back to human behavior, which I will talk about it later, typical human behaviors in managing retirement savings. And basically the lack of awareness and sensitivity in things that are happening around you. So another scary fact, 1 in 2 cannot raise 1,000 in an emergency. So basically 50% of Malaysians could not actually, they do not have money to pay for, let's say for example, if my tire bocor, my tire pancit, right? It's an emergency, right? Or some people, their roof's leaking. Is that an emergency? So 50% of Malaysians could not actually come out with 1,000 ringgit per month just to fix whatever emergency that they have at that time. So this is the situation in Malaysia. And 85% of Malaysians regret not saving enough for retirement. Right? 85% is very, very high. So when we do retirement planning, we actually need to consider 5 key typical human behavioral tendencies. So basically, first one, present bias. So what does it mean by present bias? Basically, people tend to enjoy it now rather than later. They will think of now rather than prioritizing or planning for the future. Let's say, for example, I'm a good example in this. So I'm a food lover, right? So you look at my body, you know I'm a food lover, right? So I always say that, today I must eat healthy. Cannot yesterday I had too much of Hokkien mee for example. So today I must eat lesser, eat healthier. But when I'm out of my home, I pass by a nasi lemak store, that's it. Right? So I think most of the people here experience the same, correct? Because we humans are typically present bias. They prioritize what they enjoy now compared to the future. And that's why people would say, if I could not address my issue now, why should I think about my retirement? Right? That's the first bias that we need to look at. Second, highly optimistic about retirement. So I'll bring this back to an example. Let's say, for example, during COVID times. At that time, people will think that, I won't kena COVID. Other people will kena. It won't happen to me. Correct? The same thing happened in retirement planning. People will say that, I won't be at old age poverty because my kids will take care of me. I have everything ready. But they are too optimistic about themselves. There was even a research done by the US universities when they asked average teachers, right? So how many of the teachers in that survey thinks that they are performing better than average teachers? 90% of the teachers raised their hand. So if 90% of the teachers think that they are performing better than average teachers, then who are the average teachers? Right? So people tend to be very, very optimistic about themselves, and they are also tend to stick to this status quo. What does it mean here? It means that people hate change. No one likes changes, right? So they tend to hope that, I'm in this comfortable zone and I don't want to move out from my comfort zone. So that's human behavior. And number 4, humans are loss averse. What does it mean here? Humans hate losing more than winning, right? For sure. Who wants to lose? So even if you go to casino, let's say for example, if you see from the behavioral insights perspective, it's actually quite interesting when I'm not encouraging you guys to go to casino, but if you had the chance, you go in and see how humans react when they are at the gambling table. Yeah? When they lose, let's say for example 10 ringgit, the next bet that they will put will be 20 ringgit. When they lose 20 ringgit, the next bet that they will put will be 40 ringgit. So people hate to lose. The only way that you can neutralize the lose feeling that they had is by winning double what they lose. And that's why, to answer some of the questions of account flexible, some of the behavioral insights that we use in creating account flexible is that, okay, we empower you by giving you 10%. We trust that you can manage your money because you need to address what you need to address now so that you can think about your retirement later, which will be locked by the account persaraan, 75%. But by giving you that 10%, we will actually move 5% into your account persaraan. So I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with the EPF scheme. Basically, the account 1 used to be only 70%, right? And account 2 is 30%. But from now onwards, we are not using the word account 1 and account 2 anymore. We are saying this is account persaraan, this is account sejahtera, and this is account flexible. So by giving you 10% flexibility, we are moving 5% of your total contributions into account persaraan to accelerate your retirement savings. So from 70%, it will be to 75%. Right? So these are some of the principles that we try to apply in our designing of account flexible. And the last behavioral tendencies of human are actually scarcity mentality. Scarcity mentality means, maybe I'll give you this example, then you understand better. So there's a research done towards sugarcane farmers, right? Before harvesting and after harvesting. So what they do is they give them an IQ test before harvesting. After that, they give the same sugarcane farmers the same IQ test after harvesting, right? So everyone can get me there? So what happened was, the results that came out after harvesting is 14 points higher than the results they get before harvesting. So what does that mean? It means that when I'm in a situation that I need to address, or I have emergencies that I couldn't address, I tend to make wrong decisions, right? I tend to try to find all sorts of matters just to address the situation, but I fail to see the big picture. That's scarcity mentality, right? All right? So I explained about this before. So typically humans, they prioritize their short-term needs rather than long-term needs. So I hope it answered some of the questions raised this morning on Account Flexible, why we introduced Account Flexible. So the ultimate objective is that so that you can actually address your short-term needs so that you can focus on your retirement, right? And I was talking to Mr. Kabinesh also. I mean, because EPF, all this while, when we calculate how much your retirement adequacy is, we are looking at account 1, which is your account persaraan only, right? So account sejahtera is for you to add value to yourself so that you can accelerate your retirement savings, and account 3 is sort of like a trust or empowerment that EPF hopes to give you. And when we actually introduced the special withdrawals, the iSINA, iTitra, and all those withdrawals during COVID times, we actually found out that, of course, there are news that say that some people use that money to buy phone, to buy a mask and all, but actually 85% of the people that withdrew that money, they use that for debt settlement, for just to put food on the table. So the question here is, why are we penalizing that 85% of people by just looking at these 10% or maybe lesser people that actually use that money for different kind of purpose, right? So maybe we should actually change the thinking to say that this will actually help more people to basically survive, yeah? Right, so just a summary. Basically, Malaysians don't earn enough, right? And they don't have enough money to spend, so that's why they couldn't save and they could not meet their standards of living. But at the same time, they are living longer, and that's why they do not have retirement security. So it's a vicious cycle. Yeah. So, is that scary enough? I'm not sure. I hope it does, because it will actually motivates you to, start thinking about your future, right? Especially the young adults here, I would say. Because savings for retirement does not start at day one. Yeah, you need to build your retirement savings since young. That is when you can actually leverage on the power of compounding, which I will go into later. Yeah. So to save for your retirement, first you need to know how much you need for your retirement. Yeah. And of course, start saving early. And third, you need to know some of the basic rules to assess your financial status. Yeah. So this is just an example. What is your number? This is based on simple calculation. Basically, you just look at how much you need during your retirement times 12 months times 20. Just as simple as that. Because we don't want to, when we speak to people, you need to start planning for your retirement. When we start to go more technical, people tend to lose interest, right? So why, when let's say, for example, if I go to a young student, for example, if I tell them, in order for you to save this amount of money, you need to know what's your present value, your future value, and all, they will, straight away, that's it, right? So just as simple as think of how much you need during your retirement, times 12 months, times 20 years. So that will actually give you some indication of what number you need during your retirement. So there are two ways of looking at it. First, simple calculation, 100% of your salary. If you want, let's say if your last drawn income is 15K per month, so if you want your savings to last for at least 20 years, you need about 3.6 million. Who has 3.6 million, please? I hope that you can nominate some money to me. Yeah. So if you want to last for 30 years, it will be about 5.4 million. Yep. All right? And then, of course, what amount that you need depends on your lifestyle. I'm not saying that you cannot go travel after retirement. I'm not saying that you cannot try to fulfill your dreams after retirement. But make sure you plan properly for all those circumstances. Yeah? So, and that's why I think one thing that Puan Balkis always like to say is that one of the reasons why we introduced 3 accounts is also mental accounting, so that account persaraan is tied to long-term savings, long-term plan. Yeah? Account sejahtera is for your medium-term plan, and account flexible is for your short-term needs. So we are trying to create that sense into our members as well. And I think I believe one of the question was from the moderator just now. Some people might think that they don't need account flexible, but don't worry about it. There will be a transfer facility soon where members can actually choose to transfer their savings from account flexible into account sejahtera or account persaraan. But we don't want to stop account flexible terus, because who are we to say what emergencies that you have at that time, right? So we give flexibility by allowing members to actually transfer some savings from account flexible into account persaraan and account sejahtera. So coming back to this, if you look at Sam, if he has 50,000 in at the age of 55, for example, how much does it translate if we were to look at it by stretching that amount of money for 20 years? So with 50,000, your average monthly income that you have is actually just about 354 ringgit. Yeah? So 50,000 is actually not a lot at this time. Yeah? And even if you have, let's say for example, 240,000, which is our current basic savings, you, in average, if we were to stretch that amount of savings for 20 years, it would be just about 1,007 ringgit per month, sorry. Yeah. So these are just some of the calculation that we did. So if you hope to be a millionaire, to achieve 1 million at the age of 40 or 60 years old, so let's say for example, if you start saving early, let's say at age 20, so if you hope to be a millionaire at age 40, you could start save 2,005 per month actually. Yeah. But if you were to start later, the amount of course it will be increased from a mere 2,005 to 14,000 per month. If it's just about 15 years difference. So what does this tell us here? The power of compounding. People always forgot about the power of compounding. Yeah. So this is an example of the power of compounding. So let's say for individual A starts savings at age 20. Yeah? Age 20 for 200 per month up to the age of 40 years old. And there are no new savings. Yeah, from 40 years old to 60 years old. So just that period between 20 to 40 years old. So that will be a principal of 48,000, correct? For individual B who starts saving at 40 years old to 60 years old, same 200 per month for 20 years, same capital of 48,000. Do you notice the difference of savings at the age of 55 years old? So for individual A, he or she can actually manage to save about 148,000. But for individual B with the same capital, he or she can only manage to save up to 81,000. So why the difference? The difference is because of the power of compounding. Because when you start save early, the money in your savings actually start to compound the moment you put your money into that savings fund. Right? So for individual A, the length of compounding is longer, and that's why even with the same capital, same principal, the amount of savings that individual A and individual B has is different. Yeah. And the best scenario is actually individual C. Sorry, I think something wrong with this scenario. Yeah. So individual A is supposed to be 100 per month. Right? It's 100 per month up to 60 years old. 100 per month up to 60 years old. So every year you put 100 per month. Right? Sorry, we will adjust this and then resend back. Yeah. For individual C, save early, just between the 20 years. Even only by saving 20 years, compared to individual A that actually puts in 100 ringgit per month for 40 years, the savings accumulated is actually more. So this is the message that we are trying to put here. Please maximize the compounding factor, especially with EPF, because I think not a lot of people realize that the EPF payment for dividend is actually on daily rest. Yeah, it's on daily rest. It's a bit different compared to other institutions that might use monthly aggregate balance, or some even, compound on their yearly punya fund. Yeah. So I will not go on with that because I think my time is also limited. So I will go straight to these 3 rules, some basic rules that people can think about during retirement planning. So first on Rule 100, second Rule 72 and the 4% rule. So Rule 100 means that you use your age to basically help to determine what % of your savings can be put into high-risk investment portfolio and how much percentage that you can actually put into low-risk investment portfolio. It's as simple as, let's say, for example, I'm 50 years old, I'll just take 100 minus off 50, so 50% I can put into high risk and another 50% put into low risk. So let's say if I'm 30 years old, it's as simple as using 100 minus off 30%, yeah? So 70% can go into high-risk investment portfolio and 30% go into your low-risk investment portfolio. So next on Rule 72, basically Rule 72 help you to estimate the number of years needed to double your investment. So for example, let's say the annual rate of return is actually 12%. So you just use 72 divided by 12, your investment will actually double in 6 years. Yeah? These are just some rules for you to quickly assess what kind of investment that you want to put in, so it can help you to make your decision better. Yeah? And the last rule here is actually 4% rule. These are some rules that help members actually to determine how much they need to withdraw from EPF. So use the 4% rule. So based on whatever total savings that you have in EPF, calculate the 4%, you just withdraw that 4% for your own expenses at that time. The other savings that you have, you can actually leave at the EPF because it will continue to generate dividend. So your money will still continue to grow. All right? So maybe this is just a last thing that I want to say. Based on our experience in offering iInvest, because through EPF savings, you can actually, if you meet the basic savings, a portion of your savings in account persaraan can be used to, can be transferred to some of the unit trust funds that is approved by the EPF, right? So we noticed that some members actually compare the rate of return that was written in there to the EPF, but they fail to see that some of the return that they promise in the brochure is actually for, let's say, for example, 3 years average, 12 years. 3 years average of 12%. So, of course, that 12% looks much more interesting compared to the average of 6% dividend that EPF provide throughout the 10 years, right? 12 compared to 6, it's as simple as it's doubling. But a lot of our members actually fail to see that the 12% is an average of, let's say, for example, maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years, you know? So that's why it's very important for us to know how to compare the investment return from point-to-point basis and annual basis. And I know this is basics of financial planning, but I would like to emphasize here because even people with the highest financial literacy score, that doesn't mean that it reflects in their financial behavior. Yeah. So I can score high by knowing how to calculate, you know, how much I need to pay as installment and etc. But that doesn't mean that I actually perform the financial literacy standards that people, you know, hope that I will. So, of course, it's important for you to know, to differentiate what you need, what you want. This is basic, but it needs to be repeated so many times because people tend to buy things, buy expensive things, or want something to impress people or neighbors that actually do not really care about you at all. Right? You guys know this? I hold an iPhone 15, I go out the street, you know, everyone, wow, you have iPhone 15 Pro Max. You are just being proud for that 2 seconds. After that person, that passerby that saw you hold a phone, he or she doesn't really care you hold an iPhone 15 or not. All right? So it's important for you to know, determine your needs, your wants, like, and love. So with that, maybe I'll close with this. You can actually scan this QR code to try to access your financial health. All right, everyone scan? So I will share the slides later, so you can see that actually in this financial health calculator, it will help you to sort of know where you are and you know better of your own financial status. So these are the stage that you look at. All right, so my last slide, I would like to say, you know, this is just a joke by some newspaper. So the kid is asking the mom, why are you looking at me, staring at me like that? Do I look like a pension to you? Yeah? So, all right, with that, thank you so much. And sorry for going over the time allocated. Thank you.